The scorching morning sun cast long shadows outside the Columbus Convention Center, where a growing crowd buzzed with anticipation. Supporters held homemade signs championing JD Vance, while news vans lined the curb. Local vendors sold cold drinks to folks waiting in line, and every so often you could hear spirited conversations about what the day might bring. This is where our story begins. So strap in and get ready for a fire exchange. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, please smash that like button and subscribe. We're aiming for 1K subscribers. Inside the massive lobby, volunteers in matching t-shirts directed foot traffic, ensuring everyone found a seat or a spot to stand. Conversation buzzed like a hive of bees, with friends discussing policy points they hoped JD Vance would address. Reporters fiddled with microphones and earpieces, prepping for live segments once the event kicked off. Meanwhile, a handful of local musicians strummed guitars near the entryway, adding a touch of lightness to the otherwise tense pre-rally mood. People whispered rumors of a potential surprise guest or a heated confrontation. Everyone was bracing for something unforgettable. At precisely 2 minutes on the dot, ushers guided the last few attendees into seats, encouraging them to settle down. The overhead lights dimmed slightly, signaling that the program was about to begin. A local organizer took the microphone, welcoming everyone to Columbus and acknowledging the diverse crowd gathered there. She praised the dedication of those who had lined up before dawn to support JD Vance's message. Camera operators moved into position, capturing wide shots of the eager audience. The sound system hummed gently, letting everyone know it was fully operational. Anticipation reached a near-palpable level. Right on cue, the crowd erupted in applause as JD Vance stepped into spotlight. Dressed in a dark suit, notably without a tie, he gave a confident wave and smiled at familiar faces seated up front. The applause grew thunderous for a few beats before Vance gestured gently for everyone to settle. "Thank you for being here," he began, nodding toward rows of veterans and local families. As we dive deeper, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and help us reach our 1K goal. We need every voice on board to keep this conversation alive. Vance took a measured breath, scanning the crowd with calm composure. "We're at a crossroads," he declared, voice steady. "Our economy, our neighborhoods, our sense of safety, all of them hang in the balance. But we have a choice to fight for a future we can be proud of." A few supporters cheered, while others nodded in agreement. Cameras zoomed in, capturing his focused gaze. He spoke of economic struggles facing small towns across Ohio, emphasizing the urgency of revitalizing jobs and infrastructure. The room felt charged with both tension and possibility. As the applause ebbed, Vance pivoted to the topic of rising crime. He underlined real stories from local families affected by violence, referencing personal anecdotes from his own upbringing in Middletown. The crowd's energy was palpable, punctuated by supportive shouts. It was then that a distinct figure in the press section caught my eye. Andrea Holt, a familiar face from a prominent liberal network, scribbled notes intently. She appeared poised, microphone in hand, waiting for the perfect moment to pose a hard-hitting question. Attendees near her exchanged glances, sensing a brewing confrontation. At 6 minutes in, Vance addressed education woes, lamenting underfunded schools and overwhelmed teachers in blue-collar areas. "We can't let our kids slip through the cracks," he insisted, voice edged with urgency. A few older voters in the crowd nodded vigorously, but before he could delve further, Andrea Holt raised her microphone, capturing the collective attention. "Remember, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Help us reach our 1K subscriber milestone so we can keep sharing these crucial moments." The tension in the air thickened instantly. Andrea Holt stood, voice cutting through the auditorium's hum. "Senator Vance," she began, her tone neutral but firm, "you speak of progress, yet critics argue you ignore the cost of living crisis hitting low-income families. Housing is unaffordable, wages lag behind inflation. What do you say to those who believe you're turning a blind eye to their struggles?" The audience fell silent. Curiosity peaked. Even the cameras seemed to zoom closer, capturing every nuance of Vance's expression. A single cough echoed in the stillness, setting the stage for his response. Vance paused, gripping the podium edge lightly. "Andrea," he said calmly, "I'm glad you asked that." He surveyed the crowd, many of whom leaned forward in their seats. Housing, wages, and affordability are real crises. I've never denied that. But let's talk about why entire neighborhoods are crumbling. It's not just inflation. It's decades of neglect and misguided policies from leaders who promised help but never delivered. Our people are forced to fend for themselves, often ignored by both politicians and certain media outlets. A faint murmur spread, echoing agreement. Andrea tilted her head, unyielding. "So what's your plan to fix it?" she challenged. A few in the audience shifted, clearly eager for specifics. Vance locked eyes with her. "First, we invest in the communities D.C. forgot," he stated. "Manufacturing jobs, trade programs, and genuine support for small businesses. Not Band-Aids or lip service, but real change." His voice dipped lower. "But Andrea, I suspect your network came here with a story already scripted. Remember, if you're watching at home, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1K subs. We need your support." A ripple of applause broke out at Vance's remark. Andrea raised an eyebrow, unwavering despite the crowd's reaction. "With all due respect, Senator," she replied, "isn't that just shifting blame? People feel abandoned right now." Vance exhaled, nodding. "I'm not dismissing their struggle," he clarified. "I grew up among those very people. I understand the fear of losing your job to trade deals crafted in some far-off boardroom. But let's not pretend the media always listens to them either." The crowd stirred, appreciating his candor. A man wearing a veteran's cap stood, voice carrying through the hushed space. "He's right," the man said, nodding at Vance. "Reporters show up, interview us, then vanish. We never see real coverage of our problems." Andrea glanced over, pen paused above her notepad. Vance seized a moment. This isn't about one side attacking the other. It's about who's genuinely listening versus who's chasing headlines. The veteran sat back down, receiving pats on the shoulder. Tension lingered, but a sense of shared purpose glimmered in the crowd. "By the way," Vance interjected, eyes flicking back to the podium, "if you appreciate honest conversations like this, please subscribe to our channel and help us reach 1K subscribers. We rely on your support to keep these discussions going." The audience responded with scattered cheers. Andrea Holt cleared her throat, stepping further into the aisle. "Senator," she pressed, "people claim your policies disregard those most in need. How do you respond to accusations that your agenda benefits certain demographics over others?" A ripple of murmurs rustled through the seats, eyes locked on Vance once more. He nodded, folding his hands together on the podium. "I've heard that criticism. But let's be real. Policies that boost local economies don't discriminate. When factories reopen, when small businesses get loans, that helps everyone." A smattering of applause broke out. "My point," he continued, voice firm, "is that media figures like you often frame me as ignoring the vulnerable. In reality, I come from one of those very communities. I won't let them down." Andrea tensed, preparing to respond, but the crowd reaction momentarily drowned her out. When the applause died down, Andrea regained the floor. "So, you truly believe the media is out to get you?" she asked, arching an eyebrow. Vance pursed his lips, choosing words carefully. "Not every journalist is guilty," he conceded. "But too often, networks arrive with a preset narrative. It twists what's happening in real communities. That's what people are tired of." A man in the second row chimed in. "We've seen reporters misquote us or ignore our biggest concerns. We're sick of it." A mini uproar rippled through the audience. "Let's keep this dialogue going," Vance urged, offering a calming gesture. "And if you're watching online, please subscribe to help us hit 1K subs. We want more voices at the table." He returned his focus to Andrea. I'm not here to pick a fight, but I won't shy away from calling out slanted coverage. People deserve straight answers. Andrea lifted her chin, refusing to yield. So, you say you listen to them better than we do. Care to elaborate? She asked, eyes locked on Vance. The crowd's intensity climbed. Vance let a quiet moment pass before replying, letting the tension build. Because I was one of them, he said, voice subdued yet resonant. I know what it's like to juggle rent, medical bills, and an uncertain paycheck. That's not data to me. It's reality. Some audience members murmured in agreement. So, yes, I think certain media outlets misinterpret or oversimplify these struggles. They frame us as statistics, when in fact, we're families trying to hold on to hope. A contemplative hush settled, heavier than before. At the 17-minute mark, Vance nodded to a couple in the front row, recognizing them as longtime supporters. That's why we need you to subscribe and join this community, he added, voice warming. Help us reach 1K subscribers so more people can hear these stories. A slight pause. Then he turned back to Andrea. Let's open up the floor. Who here feels unheard? Instantly, hands shot up across the auditorium. Andrea seemed momentarily taken aback, surveying the sea of raised arms that testified to a collective frustration. We'll give a microphone to anyone who wants to speak, Vance suggested, signaling a volunteer. But first, if you believe in real conversations, subscribe now to help us reach that 1K mark. We're stronger when we stand together. The crowd stirred with renewed energy. Andrea looked around, scanning the scene of people eager to share their stories. All right, she said, voice echoing in the speaker system. Let's hear from them. A middle-aged factory worker took the mic, explaining how trade policies had devastated his plant and his town. His voice shook with emotion, recalling co-workers forced to relocate or lose their livelihood altogether. We reach out for help, he said, but no one listens. Not Washington, not the big networks. Andrea scribbled notes, yet her expression betrayed a hint of empathy. Vance offered a solemn nod. That's exactly what I'm talking about, he pointed out. These are the stories that never make prime time. Heads nodded around the man, as though his experience represented hundreds of others in this very room. So, Andrea, Vance continued, turning to the journalist, this is what I mean by listening. Not a soundbite that fits an agenda, but genuine dialogue with people who live these hardships daily. She held the mic closer, gauging her next move. The audience watched intently, hungry for her response. Finally, she cleared her throat. I'll admit, it's eye-opening to hear everyone's perspective firsthand. We in the press need to do a better job covering that. A subdued cheer rippled through the crowd, relief mingling with surprise at her candidness. Vance offered a slight smile, stepping away from the podium to address both Andrea and the crowd. That's all anyone here wants, an honest hearing, he said, voice carrying over rapt faces. Before we wrap up, if you haven't already, subscribe and help us hit 1K subscribers. We can keep bringing these vital discussions straight to you. The crowd erupted in applause one final time. Andrea lowered her microphone, nodding in acknowledgement. Cameras recorded every second. People began gathering their belongings, many still deep in conversation. The night hadn't just ended. It felt like a brand new beginning. If you enjoyed what you saw and want more unfiltered, in-depth coverage of stories like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the card above to explore our other videos. Stay with us for more stories, interviews, and behind-the-scenes looks at the moments shaping our world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.